Hello there, Latin experts. Topic of the day, result clauses. Topics, that is a topic of clauses that take the subjunctive as a subordinate verb. So let's look at these clauses a little bit more closely. The definition of a result clause is pretty obvious. The result clause is a clause that tells us what happened or what will happen in the future, what's happening right now, due to the action of the main verb. So it tells us what is the result of the action of the main verb on a past, on a present, or on a future action. If you take the example that I put right here, the class was so exciting that the students did not see time go by. In this example, you can see that the fact that the class was exciting had a result. The result was that the students lost track of time. So here in red, I highlighted this English result clause that is right there in the sentence. In Latin, the verb see would be the verb that we will find in the subjunctive. Different elements in these clauses that we need to look at. That's our next step. What are the components of a result clause? We will see there's a main verb in the indicative, then what we call a tip of word. We will see the conjunction ut again that we saw in purpose clauses and other clauses, and the subordinate verb in subjunctive. A few interesting things to say about this. So let's first look at the main verb in the indicative. Pretty much any tense of the indicative can be found as the main verb. Of course, the most common ones that we will see together is probably to see that the main verb will be in the present or some simple past tense like the perfect or the imperfect. However, we could find in the future perfect, maybe even pluperfect if we'd like, but most of the time the three tenses mentioned right here will be used. Look at the example. Caesar tam fortis erat ut Germanos superaret. Caesar was so courageous, and here we have erat in the imperfect indicative. It's a good start of a result clause with this imperfect. We could have found fuit for the perfect or est in the present. That's the most common possibilities. However, we could have found other forms of erat like fuerat or fuerit or erits and things like this wouldn't be a problem. Ut Germanos superaret, he was so courageous that he was conquering the Germans. Okay, so main verb indicative, the first element of these result clauses. Then we have maybe the most important part of these result clauses, which is what is called by the author of your books the tip of word. We will see one of these words in the main clause with the verb in the indicative or close to it. The adverbs tam, ita, or tot. That means tam so, ita in such a way, and tot so many. Or the adjectives tantus and talis. That means so great or such. So that's these tip of words. You see that most of these tip of words start with a T, with the exceptions of ita, but that's one of the characters, pretty short words that introduce the main verb. In the sentence below, the same example that I talked before, we noticed we had tam in front of fortis that modifies it. Caesar was so courageous that ... So that's the second element, the most important one. It's important for you to memorize these words right here. And just memorize them as connected with result clauses. Then we have the conjunction ut that introduces our result. Ut in result clauses is best translated as that. And the interesting thing that we need to mention is that the negative of it is not going to be none. It's not going to be nay. That might be the tempting one to go with, but it's a combination of ut and further down in the sentence none. In the example that we have right here, you see that after erat we find ut, that he was conquering the Germans. If it were negative right here, we would have something like ut Germanos non superaret, but of course logically it doesn't make sense. And finally, we have a subordinate verb in the subjunctive. What is interesting about subordinate verbs in the subjunctive, we've been so accustomed to see these big time sequence charts to see which subordinate verb can go with a main verb, blah blah. Well, for result clauses, we don't really follow these time sequence charts to express simultaneity and posteriori and so on. but we're going to use the appropriate verb in the subjunctive to express or to represent the time when the result happens. So, for example, if the result happens in the present, use the present tense. Caesar tam fortis erat ut Germanos superet. Caesar was so strong that now he is conquering the Germans. Okay? If you want to express something that happened at a precise time in the past, you would say Caesar tam fortis erat ut Germanos superavit, using the perfect tense. Caesar was so strong or so courageous that he conquered the Germans, and the action is over. If you want a lasting action in the past, like I had at the start with superaret, Caesar was so strong or so courageous that he was conquering the Germans. Here it expresses this lasting action with the imperfect subjunctive. So basically, these three tenses will be used to express whenever the result happened. Okay, and I think that's about it. Now, what you need to do is to kind of review what we had seen about purpose clauses. If you click on this link right over here, that's the presentation that I gave you much earlier about purpose clauses, and try to see how purpose clauses are and result clauses are similar and how they are different. And I think once you understand, you notice and study the similarities and differences, then you'll have a good idea of what these clauses are like, what they do, and then your mind will be nicely organized after you do this comparative study. Then go to your textbook and do exercise 1, page 321. Turn that into me, and then I will send you to Kuya to take your test on these clauses. All right, and I think that wraps it up here on our topic of result clauses. I hope it helped, and we'll see how you fare with your practice and with your test.